I just wanted to make a quick note to myself. Uh, while I was thinking about it, I have so many books in my mind that I want to write. It's so hard to write a book, and you can think a book in a day. You can think a book in a day, and like day after day after day, your whole life, you know. But I think there's a book I've been grinding on inside of me for years, and I think I just came up with like a good idea for a working title and a concept. Let's see, how did it go? It just came to my mind, and I just wanted to make this diary entry before I lost it. Uh, okay, here's a working title: The most violent idea, or no, I'm sorry, the most practical, violent idea. That's all like uppercase letters. And then in lowercase letters, it would be the word and. And then again in uppercase letters, its solution. It's spelled ITS, no apostrophe, because of compound words like it is has been designated IT apostrophe S, whereas the possessive form of its is really, well, I guess pronouns are a little bit different because it's he and his, so that's a possessive, and there's no apostrophe. Hmm. But then, like, the I is kind of like he, HE apostrophe S, he's. Actually, HIS is a good, like, shorthand version of HE apostrophe S. That's kind of interesting. But, I mean, that's how language moves around, man. It's it's funny how language is slippery, but then things stick. It's weird, especially these days. Everything is so fluid. It's hard to. It's always like trying to grab onto pumpkin seeds. They just ping, 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 ping right out of your finger. But yeah, uh, that's also interesting how I believe it's Parmenides, the beginning of his philosophy, which it's one of the ways you can counter Descartes. It is, right? And my understanding is that in Greek, even though in English I call it the Parmenidean it is, but in Greek it's somehow, or so I've heard, it's some sort of like grammatical play on words in ancient Greek, where those words in Greek, in the original Greek or whatever, um, those those words mean both it is, and I think its other translation is we are. So at the one hand, it's like one statement that encapsulates everything, everything, seen, unseen, whatever is, it is God. And then we are. And whatever it is, we are. Like, it is one of the most profound philosophical statements ever in the ancient Greek. It would be interesting if we could find a anglicized way of saying that. We are it. We are it. Has a ring to it. A little bit of a clang. It's like a cowbell. Makes an impact and then it stops ringing. We are it. We are it. But anyway, yeah, that title, something like practical, the most practical use of violence and its solution. So the idea is, if violence is tolerable at the limits of philosophy, at the limits of pragmatism, at the limits of pragmaticism, at the limits of ideology, of theology, of everything, at the limits of everything, like I know what I'm talking about when I say that. So it's like, if violence can be justified, here's the absolute perfect, most awesome, excellent philosophical judgment. So that will be 2/3 of the book. But the point of the book would be the last third of the book, which would be, and its solution. It might not even be, it might be like the violence part, the practical use of violence part might be 4/5 of the book. But the whole point of the book is that last fifth and its solution. So I could lay out an argument of violence. And in that, I would cover everything to do. All the questions people have is like, well, why does God allow this? Why does God? I have it all. I have every argument already. And what I realized today is, because I've been trying to figure out, like, do I write philosophy or do I write theology? Do I write like a journalist? Right? Like, what type of voice? Because all those voices mix around inside me. But then I realized today, write like an English major. First of all, English majors are the ones who read books, right? Write for the English major. I don't have to be the best historical, I don't have to be the best historian. I can leave little beautiful quotes, notable quotes with a reference, footnoted, documented, legitimately, and leave it at that. And just keep moving. That's life. I think that's a good idea. And just say it the way I think it and feel it, and the way I'd talk to a friend who doesn't interrupt me. Because if I'm talking to a friend who there's two types of ways I try to tell stories normally when I'm writing. It's like, in my mind, I'm talking to either a friend who's interrupting me, so I'm trying to get it all out at once, or I'm trying to talk to a friend who never says anything, but like, some friends, they're always interrupting you, and some friends, they like lose you after the first sentence, and they're already thinking like, what movie am I gonna watch tonight, or whatever. Like me. I mean, I'm like that. I understand. I get it. Um, but yeah. And then the question would be like, well, do you write like Chaucer? Do you write like Hemingway? Do you write like what's that guy's name who wrote that book, Gargantua and Pantagruel? That might be a little thick for what we're aiming at. Let me think of some of my favorite. When I used to be a big reader for, I didn't become a big reader until I was like about 19 years old, and then I was a big reader from then until I was about, well, of books, of novels, of mostly, yeah, novels, and also philosophy, yeah, theology, spiritualism, different things, that type of stuff, just trying to figure everything out, you know. And I had a few favorites. I love Schopenhauer, but this isn't a Schopenhauer type book. I loved Nietzsche, and then I've loved Nietzsche since. I think I've actually kind of figured him out. I think I have a nice succinct take of Nietzsche. Uh, I can sum up, thus spake Zarathustra, very succinctly, if need be. Today is not that day. Though a little bit of that style might be warranted in this book. And then it's like, well, Shakespeare or Dickens? Mostly Dickens, with a little bit of Shakespeare. I think that's the way to go. And it cuts to the chase. The most practical defense of violence and its solution, which means if we can accept this much violence, right? Because in a sense, they're like the whole thing with governments and gangs, right? Some governments are gangs. um, then again, sometimes gang is used in a good way, like Andrew Yang, the Yang Gang. That's not a violent gang. Andrew Yang, that's not a bad gang. Andrew Yang's a really great guy, you know? Whether you like his politics or not or whatever, or is now like he's a good guy trying to do a good thing. He has a good story. Who else? What's another? The Apple Dumpling Gang. There's a throwback. It's kind of like the Bad News Bears. No one ever called them a gang, but they were a gang. Another throwback movie reference. That was a good movie, Bad News Bears. The Bad News Bears is a great story about the good peoples of the world. That's what that that's what that that's what that movie's about in my mind. Though I haven't watched it for I can't possibly have watched it for at least 32 years at least. The hardest thing about writing a book is like framing the argument, setting boundaries to work within. And I think today I made a nice boundary. I think I made a nice boundary today. And I've been looking for that edge. I've been looking for that boundary for years. Who am I talking to and why? Now, of course, I do. Yeah, we all have an agenda. People are like, he has an agenda. She has an agenda. Yeah, everybody has an agenda. You have a to-do list. You have things you got to do at work. You have things you got to do at home. Recreational things, creative things, straight out obligations, and sometimes the heat of the moment. Everybody has an agenda. Right? Some may say the founding fathers laid it out pretty clearly. Rights. The funny thing about rights is they are not rights. They are choices. And we choose rights. We choose rights. Yet, these rights are written in the end of time. Not the intent. All right. The intent of these rights that we call universal rights or whatever, and some are, some aren't, or whatever, but in the beginning of time, they were the notion that God and life aspired to that did not exist. The rights that we call rights did not exist at the Big Bang. They did not exist before the Big Bang, like in practice. They didn't exist at the Big Bang. They didn't exist at the creation of the solar system, at the creation of the Earth, of the sun. No. Cold blackness, heavy objects, gravity, fusion, fission. States of matter. The cold truth. The truly cold truth. And then even when life began, and even as life is now, we are the only thing that loves the way we love. Nothing loves like we love. And people are violent. No. We're violent against each other because we're violent against our violence, because we are violent against the violence of the world. The world is violent. When you walk outside on a beautiful day and you look at the beautiful scenery and the beautiful lighting, the beautiful people in a beautiful city, in a beautiful town, in the backwoods, in the open prairie, in the desert, we are the only things that truly get to enjoy that beauty at all. Not all of us. Some of us live in fucking hell. Dumps, garbage, terrible societies, terrible cultures. And that's another thing too. This is another good idea for the book, is the distinction between society and civilization. Everybody, like, here is the word that is the best combat to the word socialism, which everyone is so frightened of. A better word is the word civilizationalism. That's it. Civilizationism. 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 Yeah, we got to pair that. got to make it a little more catchy, I think. But that's the idea. Is that what's the difference between the society and the civilization? In the root word, like anything can be social. Social is just people together. There's most socialism, most socializing, or whatever, depending where you live or whatever. It's this reinforcing loop of whatever the zeitgeist of your region is, or of your interest, of your proclivity, right? That's socialism. It's just being social, talking to talk, right? But civilizationalism encompasses the individual, the non-social factor, the contemplative part of oneself, being civil, just sitting quiet for a moment in repose to noodle over a concern. There are plenty of concerns to noodle over. Civil. What does it mean to be civil? What other animals? There are actually civil animals in the way that we consider civility, though there's always a bully here or there. Some species have more or less bullies. And I'll just say this, because in this whole entire diary entry for myself, so I can remember, but also I'm putting it out there because, hey, it might help. Like, the whole thing about it is, imagine a world with no predators. And take away for a moment the idea of, like, well, if we get rid of the wolves, there will be too many deers and blah, blah. That's not, just get rid of that thought for a minute and just imagine. There are no predators on, like, and when I say that, specifically what I'm talking about now, there's all kinds of things about disease and mosquitoes and like other ways that the world kills us. But like, and that's another thing, though it's related, but just to simplify it, among vertebrates, let's say, or among land vertebrates, imagine a world where everywhere on land, everywhere, there wasn't one predator, not one. Nothing on land kills anything else on land for food as a wild animal. Imagine that. Take away The whole, oh, but what about? Just take that all away. And what's left? And, oh, but eat meat, like, I'm not even harshing on people who eat meat at all, or cheese, or, I'm not harshing on it. I'm not, because that would mean us too, right? Okay, so we're all vegetarians, right? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, but right. Okay, so imagine a world where we truly figure it out. Imagine we've discovered a perfect food that has nothing to do with animals and is perfect, 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 and we live to 300 years old, or whatever, right? But or just don't even think about us. Pretend humans are extinct and there's no predator, and just imagine no predators on land, and it's all these wild animals that just eat vegetation and have no predators. There's nothing to be afraid of. Oh, but they'll fight over the food, and then take that all away. Because the whole thing, the reason why everything's just consuming or mating and popular is because everything's like, the whole world is just like, you walk out, you see a beautiful sunset, rolling hills, valleys, rivers, streams, this beautiful Renaissance painting, lighting. We're the only ones who get to enjoy that. Now, true, there might be, especially like domesticated animals, yeah, they get to enjoy it too. But so far as a wild animal goes, yeah, they might get to enjoy it like for a minute. But 23 hours, 23 hours and 32 minutes of every day, if you're a wild animal, is survive. And don't be killed. Kill what I can and eat it, and don't be killed. For most everything. That goes for mice, man. That goes for squirrels. A squirrel will see a snake, a gardener snake passing by it, pick it up, and just start eating it. Won't even kill it first. Right? Like, that's life in the real world. So anyway, I feel like I have a good answer for all of it. It's a bold claim, but yeah, I think I have. And now I have the boundaries to put it in and the title. One of my favorite things in the world is titles. Titles for songs, titles for books. I'll write half a song in my head and then I'll put it aside and I'll spend all day thinking about titles. And I'll whip up 100 titles. Never make the song, never give it a title. But yeah, that's it's one of my favorite pastimes. God knows why. God knows why. Maybe this is why. Maybe. Who knows? Thank you, God. I've been looking for this gem for a long while. I see the book in my mind. It's a red book with gold writing. It's a fabric. It's a hardcover, fabric bound, red book with gold writing. And I'll write it with a pen name. I think the pen name will be Marion Waters. And that might be in blue or white. I don't know. Yeah, white. Ooh, but I gotta get blue in there somehow. Yeah, I'll have to think about the design a little bit. But anyway, that's what I see in my mind right now. The most practical use of violence and its solution. That's it. It's actually not the type of title that I normally like. It's the type of title that it doesn't really, the language of it, the poetry of it, it's very not poetic, but there's just something about it. Like it clangs in just the right way. It reminds me of like Thurston Veblen's Theory of the Leisure Class, which is actually a much a much more eloquent title. Or Max Weber's, what is it? The Protestant Work Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. It's a book I've never read. I've read about it. I bought it, never read it. But I always liked that title. I just thought that was a good title. The Protestant Work Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism. I remember I saw it in a used bookstore like 20 years ago, and I was like, what? What's that got to do with that? That's one of the things about titles. Sometimes they teach you without ever reading the book because you meditate on the title for years and years and years. Now I get it because, like, to me, I'd never heard that before because no one teaches anything worth knowing. I shouldn't say that. Lots of people do, but you know what I mean. So yeah, the most practical use, the most practical, no, the most practical and the most practical, the most ethical, the most ethical use of violence in practice and its solution. That's a little better, something like that. Yeah. A red hemp cloth bound hardcover book with raised, puffy, slightly puffy, gold print. So ridiculous, irresistible. Maybe I'll get to it. But I feel this great sense of relief because I just sliced off 100,000 pages of ideas that I don't need to deal with anymore because I figured out the way to do it and make magic happen. Thank you, God. Amen.